In this video, I got the smallest pufferfish species in the world. Stay till the end to find out his name, personality, and if he eats. Also, keep watching to see something crazy that happened at the end of the video. Normally when people think of a pufferfish, they think of this. Now, normally people would think of a pufferfish like this too, which is freshwater. And usually they think they're pretty big, right? But what if I told you there is a species on Earth that is the size of this pea? Yup, that's right. There's a pufferfish that's the size of a pea, and it is called the pea puffer. That's a very creative name. In this video, I transform one of my old paludariums from a different project into a tank for a single pea puffer. So, without further ado, let's just jump straight into the build. Let's start with the stock list. First, we need the stand. Next is the substrate, which is fluvial stratum on bottom and black galaxy sand on top. After that is rock from outside, and I'm doing this because I'm making my own centerpiece. Then we need some water from my bathtub, you know, quality H2O with the prime water conditioner in it. Then we get the filter and the heater. Then we load up on plants because pea puffers need a heavily planted tank. Step number 7 is a light to promote plant growth, and pea puffers are diurnal, which means they're active during the day, so they need a proper day and night cycle. And then finally, the pea puffer. But wait, there's more! Step number 9 is an unexpected surprise that you guys are going to have to find out at the end of the video. Now that we've figured out our stock list, let's go ahead and go get everything. Hey guys! You're probably like, Goosely, why is there a black screen? When are we gonna go get all the stock list, you know? So there's a funny story. I didn't film a single thing of me buying the stock list. Actually, I did film one thing, and it's me getting the rock for the rock structure, so, here's that! I ordered the stand, the substrate, and I went into PetSmart in person to pick up the filter, and then I ordered the heater and the light. Now, let's go ahead and get into the steps. Step 1 is cleaning the tank. Step 2 is pouring the fluvial stratum. Number 3 is pouring the sand on top. Step 4 is building the rock structure. Step 5 is putting the completed rock structure into the tank. Step number 6 is filling the tank up with water. Number 7 is setting up the filter and heater. 9 is adding plants and setting up the light. Step 10 is letting the tank cycle for 2 to 4 weeks. Step number 11 is getting the pea puffer. And step number 12 is figuring out the surprise. Now that we have the layout of the tank and the steps, let's go ahead and get into the actual build. This is the old paludarium. I'm getting rid of this paludarium because, as you can see, it is horribly built and it looks terrible, and look how gross it is. That's disgusting. Now it's time for step 1, cleaning out the tank. This tank used to be home to a certain type of animal that I am now upgrading their enclosure, which that will be a video coming out later this year. I am upgrading this enclosure for reasons you will find out in that video when it drops, but also because this visibly looks horrible and the way it is built is bad too. The sand collapses with water, so I can structurally make this paludarium better and enhance the looks of it. It looked better than how it looks now, obviously, because there's more water and cleaner water, more stuff in it, and etc. But still, this new enclosure looks 1,000 times better that I'm building. Now, let's finish cleaning this out so that we can get it ready for our pea puffer. I got all the sand and old plants out, and look how gross this is. Then I brought the tank to the sink. Then I started filling it up with some water. I filled the tank about 1/4 of the way full, and I got some paper towel and started cleaning off the sands on the side and some algae on the sides and just stuff like that. Once everything was off the walls, I got my wet dry vac and started vacuuming up the sand and debris and the good stuff like that. Once everything was vacuumed up, I got a wet paper towel and started wiping down the floor of the tank and the walls. Then I got some dry paper towel and dried everything. There were things on the glass that was holding old thermometers on there, and when I peeled them off, some glue got left behind. So I got my scraper and scraped off the glue. I brought the tank back to my sink, put the sink heat on full heat, and changed the mode to a sprayer, and I sprayed down the sides of the tank with hot water. Once I was done spraying the inside of the tank, I got some paper towel, put some hot water in it, wringed it out, and then wiped the outside of the tank. Off camera, I dried the inside with dry paper towel, and now we move on to step 2. Before we move on to step 2, I brought the tank outside because I am going to spray paint the back black. So I got some black spray paint and started applying the first coat. Once the first coat was dry, I started applying the second coat. Once the second coat was dry, I put on the third and final coat. Once all 3 coats were on, I started applying a clear, protective coat finish. And I should have used painter's tape because there's black spray paint all over this table. My mom is gonna kill my ass. Once it was fully dry and ready, I used my magical powers to bring the tank right back inside. I then got a towel with 90% isopropyl alcohol on it and started wiping the excess spray paint off the sides of the tank. Now it's time for step 2, and in order to do that, I took out this temporary stand to put the tank on. I had to complete step 5 before step 2 because we wanted to add the rock structure in before the sand, so the sand goes around it, so the rock structure has no way of tipping over. And I wanted the rock structure and how it turned out to be a surprise, but that didn't go so well. So, I mean, here's the rock structure. I hope you guys like it. I put some cut up fish egg crate dividers so that the rock didn't crack the glass. So let me get this rock to where I like it. Once I had the rock in the position I wanted it to be, I forgot to film this part of putting in the fluval stratum, but I started step 2, putting in the fluval stratum, and now it was time to put the rest in. Now for step 3, which is adding in the black galaxy sand, and I started off by adding it in with this little scooper, but that was taking so long, so I went ahead and just poured the rest in with the bag. Once it was poured in, I started evening it out and moving the sand around. I sprayed down all the rocks, and don't ask why there's a Baja Blast can in the sink, because honestly I don't know myself. Bruh. I then put the rocks in boiling water. Once they finished boiling, I did the vinegar test to make sure that they were safe to put into the aquarium. If you don't know what the vinegar method is, basically you put white vinegar on the rocks, and if it fizzes up, that means they are not safe for your aquarium. Then I set all the rocks out to dry and cool. Once they were ready, it was time to start building the cave portion for the arch, and yeah, let's just get right into that. I'm using Seachum purple coralcrete for this, and later on I'm going to just cover up the purple with sand and plants so that it doesn't stick out in the aquarium. It's better to use this epoxy rather than super glue because it sticks better and is better for more heavier things like rocks. Now we start working on the arch part. I put some nitrile examination gloves on because now it was time to work with some super glue and put on some tiny rocks for detail. Now it was time to add sand and fill in the purple spots. Now it's time for step 6, filling the tank up with water. Now for step 7, setting up the filter and the heater. First, I rinsed off the media. Then off camera, I unboxed the filter and set it up and put the media into the filter. And then I primed it by filling it up with tank water so that it can be like kick-started and start up. Then, once I did that, I took the lid off and went ahead and gave it a little bit of a rinse. Once the lid was clean, I went ahead and put it on the tank. Now it's time to set up the heater, and don't mind my girlfriend in the background.
Look how white my legs are. I don't give a fuck.
Now for steps 8 and 9, setting up the light and adding plants. First, I went ahead and set up the light. Then I turned it on. And wow, look at the difference. I just saved myself $150. Sorry about that. Anyway, so as you can see, there's a lot of different modes. But the mode that we will do is I'm going to set up a 24-hour mode for this pea puffer. It turns on at 10 a.m., turns off at 8 p.m., but goes through a gradual sunrise, sunset, and moonlight phase. Now, for plants, I ran to PetSmart. I then bought a bunch of overly priced plants. Now, I put all the plants around the tank. Now for Java ferns. Now for this Malaysian red plant I got because it was on clearance for 50% off. Now for some Anubias. This wasn't in the plan, but I got tiny pieces of driftwood to add more aesthetic. I put them in a pot, filled it with water, and boiled it until it was ready. Now they're ready, so let's go ahead and scatter them around the tank. Now to finish off the plants, I went ahead and added some hornwort in the back. Then I added some salvania, which is a floating plant. Now that the planting was done, it was time to complete step 10, which is cycling the tank, so I added some quick start, the recommended dosing, and waited about 2 to 4 weeks for the tank to cycle. After about 2.5 weeks, the tank was finally cycled, and as you can see here off camera, I bought and built the stand that it is on now. But now that the tank is cycled, let's go ahead and go get our pea puffer. I went to my local pet store and bought the pufferfish. I got him out of the bag to acclimate him, and just wait till you see what I named this little guy. I first started off with a 20-minute floating acclimation. Once the temperatures were matched up, I poured the pufferfish bag into this container to start drip acclimating him, and this is important for all pufferfish because they are extremely sensitive to water changes. In order to drip acclimate this pufferfish, I slowly add tiny amounts of tank water to this container every 5 minutes for about 40 minutes. Now, time for his name reveal. His name is Peeves. If you are a regular viewer, you know my family names animals after Harry Potter characters. There's a ghost in Harry Potter named Peeves that is mischievous, and pea puffers are known to be chaotic and mischievous, so I thought it fits perfectly. Now, Peeves was fully acclimated, so I got him into this little cup and put him into the tank. Now that Peeves was in the tank, it's time for him to explore. Yo, he just ate something. He just picked it off the hornwort back there. Is he going back? What do you see, buddy? I also find it really fascinating how they swim. Their back fin right there, their tail, they move it back and forth slowly, just depending. And they kind of just drift. You see their little top and bottom little fins right there? They just swim really weird. Like, he'll turn his tail the way he's swimming, which I find very interesting. While exploring Peeves' tank and watching him, I found this. Now this is a scud, and scuds are freshwater crustacean, and I think this one came from the hornwort. I also saw little baby bladder snails, which means this ecosystem is providing a natural food source for Peeves. I went ahead and dropped the scud back into the tank because, like I said, this is a natural food source for Peeves. Something cool about Peeves is that some of the spots on his back have an emerald color that shines, and his eyes are also that emerald color. He's coming right out to me. There he is, right in his little arch. Oh, he's running away. Alright. A couple days later, I attempted to feed Peeves some bloodworms, and he saw them, but over time, I learned that this pufferfish is literally scared of everything. And I mean, quite literally, everything. This pufferfish is scared of every little thing. And over time, he never ate from my tweezers. I mean, he did a couple times, but it was only little nibbles and he was very cautious. But eventually, I figured out that he naturally hunts, so I did get some clips of him eating from natural food that grows in the tank. One of Peeves' favorite things to do is search in the floating plants for food, and he does this constantly, and he loves doing this. He must find a lot of food in there. And pause. As you can see right here, Peeves has a brown line going down his stomach, and this means that he is a male. Now, let's go ahead and move on to step 12, figuring out the surprise. In my most recent short, I fed my axolotl newt some live shrimp. Make sure to go check that video out. It will be right here in the top corner of your screen. But anyways, let's fast forward to the end. I had bought 4 live ghost shrimp, and Newt only ate 3, which meant there was 1 still left. So I went ahead off camera, put it into Peeves' tank with the thoughts that he was going to eat it. But a couple days later, I woke up to this. Dude, this is insane. Look right here. That's the ghost shrimp we put in here. Alright? And Peeves is right there. They're like best friends. And if you look in the ghost shrimp, obviously ghost shrimp are see-through, he's been eating. I mean, there's stuff in his belly. And there's Peeves. Look at Peever Beaver. Peever Beaver is just chilling. That's Peever Beaver. But yeah, that's crazy. I just walked up to the tank. I haven't seen this shrimp since we put him in. I think I've seen him a couple times, like over back in here and stuff. He likes to hang out there. But he's like Lion King up there. Like he's like king of the world. Look at him. Oh wow. Well, Peeves ended up being friends with the shrimp. Yeah, a pufferfish being friends with the shrimp. That's supposed to be their food. Peeves definitely lived up to his wussy title. But that's what makes him Peeves. And if that wasn't his personality, then he wouldn't be Peeves. So I still love him either way. Well, now that we've reached the end of the video, this is the before and the after. That is going to wrap up today's video. The before and after transformation was crazy, but this is a perfect tank for Peeves. We learned that Peeves didn't live up to his mischievous nature or the name I gave him, and became friends with his prey, but that's okay because that's what makes him, well, him, and I love him for it. I hope you all enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. Make sure to check out my last video where I transformed my leopard gecko's enclosure. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to make sure you never miss a future video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.